algae, Impress, and Foodimar. With our 7 speakers today, we will cover the topic from innovation and technology to application and market opportunities. And in other words, we will look at having a 360 degrees overview of the future of biorefineries. So before starting this workshop, just a few guidelines. Please keep your microphones muted during the presentations. We invite you to use the chat to post your questions, and we will collect them and share them during the Q&A sessions. But it's now time to move to the presentations, and we will start with the first session focusing on the research activities, algae, Impress, and Foodimar. With our 7 speakers today, we will cover the topic from innovation and technology to application and market opportunities. And in other words, we will look at having a 360 degrees overview of the future of biorefineries. So before starting this workshop, just a few guidelines. Please keep your microphones muted during the presentations. We invite you to use the chat to post your questions, and we will collect them and share them during the Q&A sessions. But it's now time to move to the presentations, and we will start with the first session focusing on the research activities led within the 3 projects that we mentioned. And we'll start with Tony Martinez-Abad from CSIC in Spain. His research interest encompasses the design of green extraction technologies and the valorization of various biomasses, as well as characterization, and I will now give him the floor.
Thanks, Ronald. Thank you very much. So I just gathered around a little some slides from the Chicago project around the valorization of different byproducts from seaweed and microalgae and their processing to have a transform them into value-added products. So I will just start with a few slides of presentation. So we're coming from the Institute of Agrochemistry and Food Technology in Valencia, in Spain. We are part of the Scientific Council in Spain, so an institution which is fully devoted 100% towards research. And our research team revolves along 4 different research lines: biomass valorization, structure function of food ingredients, polymeric materials, and sustainability and innovation in food ingredients, for instance, in encapsulation or sustained release of active ingredients. We have a very multidisciplinary team which will involve both the processing of the biomass at the lab and semi-pilot scale, as well as the use of advanced characterization tools, both at the molecular level in order to characterize composition and structural hierarchy, as well as at the technological level, mechanical, rheological properties towards the end of life, with a whole compostability unit which is able to do assays for OK compost in industrial home compost, and also accredited for industrial composting by TÜV Austria. Basically, we process, and sometimes processing is as easy as a maceration. Sometimes we are using homogenization, or we can use enzymes, all very green ways to process biomass. And we have experience with many types of biomass, including seaweeds. And what we do is basically applying all our knowledge on the structural hierarchy of the biomass in order to separate, tackle it, and obtain value-added fractions, which we can then characterize, offering support all the way from the starting biomass towards the product formulation. So marine biomass is a really interesting biomass for us who have been tackling terrestrial biomass for a long time. The marine biomass is a real great opportunity. Compared to terrestrial biomass, marine biomass is largely underexploited, underrated, and in many cases unknown. And of course, as everyone knows, dealing with marine biomass means we're not competing with arable land, sweet water resources, and we're less dependent on climate factors so important nowadays. So our integral algae biorefinery concept, or one of a potential integral biorefinery concepts which could be applied to algae, is transforming the biomass in several fractions, several valuable compounds in a sequential way, so that we have no waste. A typical, let's say, best example, or sometimes a bit utopical example for the zero waste would be to first apply malt maceration, sometimes aided with enzymes, to extract the low molecular weight compounds which have interesting bioactivities, so sulfated polysaccharides, galactans, fucoidan, ulvan, or even soluble protein. Then we can use a little bit harsher treatments. We can still deal within the green treatments or green extraction techniques by using hot water extraction, sometimes pressurized water, to extract the hydrogel, so the polysaccharides, which can be agars, carrageenans, alginates, and so on, as well as hemicelluloses and more structural protein from the algae biomass. In order to aid and to promote the extraction of all these fractions, we can always apply eco-disruptive pretreatments, which can be sometimes high-pressure treatments, ultrasounds, microwaves, in order to destabilize in a environmentally friendly way, destabilize the cell wall of the different seaweeds, and ease the extraction of all these valuable fractions. Of course, in the end, we will have some recalcitrant biomass, which is much more difficult to tackle or to separate one fraction from the other. But then we would go for more harsh, or let's say less environmentally friendly treatments, basically harsh acid or alkali treatments, in order to recover amino acids, oligosaccharides in a low molecular weight form, leaving a cellulose which can again be valorized depending on its purity. So basically, you can have a whole bunch of potential ingredients and materials which can have nutritional value, which can have interesting bioactive properties, antioxidant, prebiotic, antimicrobial, as well as technological properties with gelling, thickening, texturizing properties, as well as potential materials or new materials from natural renewable resources. But although we have a vast world in the marine world to explore for extraction or for exploitation of new ingredients, we already have some exploitation of the marine world. We have more than 30 million tons a year of algae processed globally, and only in Europe we extract or we process more than 1 million tons a year just for the production of phycocolloids. Now, these processes usually involve very traditional steps and usually focused on a single product, and most of the biomass is then handled as a byproduct. In the case of microalgae, this can go up to 97% of the initial biomass. And of course, this byproduct or this secondary product still has a lot of potential as these ingredients, all these ingredients that I have mentioned before, and these potential properties, either nutritious, technological, etc. So this was the concept within algae. This was the initial idea, was not to tackle marine biomass as such, but to transform the byproducts and the residues of the both the seaweed exploitation as well as the microalgae exploitation into valuable products. And now some examples. For example, we have been working with 5 different microalgae within sick algae, and here are 2 examples. Spirulina, which is the most by far the most heavily exploited microalgae in Europe, although it's not a microalgae, it's a cyanobacteria, but it's mostly we just group in within the microalgae world. And another example on the other extreme is Phaedactylum tricorotum, which is not so much not so much exploited in volumes in Europe, but it still has a very great opportunity for a cascade sequential valorization because of its many different potential valuable fractions at different levels in terms of polarity or solubility. So both of them are processed. Spirulina is sometimes processed, not just used as a whole, but sometimes it is processed to extract a blue pigment, which is much used in, for example, as a food coloring agent, not only in foods but also in cosmetics and other sectors, leaving a residue. And also Phylactylum trichornotum is used usually for the extraction of omega-3 fatty acids, which also have a very high price in the market. So both of the industrial processes leave a protein-rich residual biomass, which Josep dealt with within his PhD thesis, which is now only just 1 year to finish. So he deals with these residues in order to extract the protein from this macroalgae biomass, assisted by either high pressure homogenization or ultrasounds. And the process is quite straightforward. Basically, we use an alkaline treatment followed by an acid treatment in order to precipitate the solubilized protein. And we explored the possibility of assisting these extraction with either ultrasounds or high pressure homogenization. And we use for that a very basic homogenizer, which is used in the food industry, for example, in dairy or milk for homogenization. So very basic equipment, actually, no high tech. So as I was saying, alkaline treatment assisted or not by these technologies, then acid precipitation, recovering a protein-rich concentrate. So what we found is that the ultrasound treatment doubles the protein recovery in, for example, Phylactylum trichornotum, and the homogenization step actually multiplied by 4 the protein recovery in, for example, spirulina, reaching up to 60%. And these protein concentrates were not only protein, they also had small impurities, which were actually also helpful. Both the phycobilin proteins as well as these smaller molecular compounds as impurities were actually helping towards a bioactivity. In this case, we can see a dose-dependent anti-inflammatory effect in both. So the dose dependency goes basically like this, dose dependency both in Phylactylum as well as in spirulina, without showing any cytotoxicity. The essential the amino acid profiles showed that the essential amino acid proportions were in both cases above the FIO recommendations. And also it's not here, but they also showed interesting emulsifying and foaming capabilities towards the potential products where they were then incorporated. Also, functional oils can be extracted from the exhausted biomass of microalgae. Basically, for example, just making an ethanol extraction to extract the different polyphenols and the bioactive compounds, and then concentrating them through a liquid extraction with an oil carrier, for example, sunflower oil, which would then be used to incorporate the active oil into emulsions such as creams. And here an example of our partners at Saponia, who very nicely prepared some demonstrators. We have many different demonstrators within the Chicago project, but of course this is not the time or the purpose to show them. Here are just some examples. We will talk more about this and about the preparation of the different formulations and the products with a little glimpse on that at the training session held at Lisbon in next month. Apart from microalgae, we have seaweeds to valorize and seaweed byproducts to biorize. And this, for that, we need to understand a little bit the process in which the phycocolloids are produced. So for example, when we look at agar production, we have an alkaline treatment, which leaves an alkaline effluent, which is still rich in bioactives, in peptides and salts. And then the solid residue after this alkaline treatment is then subjected to hot water extraction to extract the agar, which is the real compound, which is valuable and sold in the market, leaving a solid residue, which still contains not only the cellulose, but structural agar and protein, which still remains there. So our approach within Circalgae has been the valorization of this alkaline effluent, basically through closed filtration. So this alkaline effluent contained a lot of salt and a lot of water. With a basic closed filtration system, we were able to remove the salts of the water, enriching all the peptides and the sulfated galactans that were in there. We could reach protein percentages up to 40% at the lab scale, which were lower when upscaled, with an amino acid profile again typical for algae. And this ingredient is now being tested with our partners at Chagasca for as a potential feed ingredient. Then the solid byproduct, we tried to solve this with different approaches, both enzymatic and hot water. But actually, the structure of the protein within the solid residue of agar was a little bit more aggressive than we expected. So we used it in another project to generate packaging materials. So the solid residue could not be directly processed as a minimally processed biomaterial, because of course the agar, which is what would give the matrix the ability to form a continuous film, was extracted. But then of course other potential solution is the use of raw algae, which is not a waste, so not within the Circalgae concept, but of course other raw agarophytes can be minimally processed into films. Or otherwise, we can always take the residue, and this is also another thing that we investigated, take this more recalcitrant residue and blend it with other biopolymers in order to get the materials that we wanted. So we can then formulate blends for either rigid or flexible films, such as in the picture in the right. Another example is alginate production, which I will now again just go through very quickly. So brown algae are usually subjected to an acidic treatment to eliminate most of the low molecular weight compounds, and also color and so pigments and so forth. So we have an acid effluent which is rich in poidan, laminarin, and other bioactives. The solid residue is then subjected to an alkaline treatment, usually with calcium carbonate. So the alginate is transformed into sodium alginate, which is soluble, and then goes into the liquid fraction, and leaving a solid fraction which still contains sometimes around half of the alginate, the more structural alginate, and protein, and of course the cellulose in the algae. So within Circalgae and one national project which ended about a year ago, one of our PhD students, now doctorated, made some work on the recovery of protein from this solid residue after alginate extraction. So she performed an acid alkaline treatment in order to try to recover these valuable proteins fractions, coupled with either ultrasound and an enzymatic treatment. So what we saw is that that without neither the enzymatic treatment nor the ultrasound treatment, the acid and alkaline treatments were not able to basically extract anything, where the yields are close to zero. But as you see, with the addition of the enzyme, we significantly enhance the protein recovery. And this is, as you can see in the graphs. And we can have a synergistic effect when we additionally apply ultrasounds as a pre-treatment, making it higher in protein yield depending on the species. So here we have an example of Fucales and Laminariales, Ascophyllum nodosum and Saccharina latissima, with protein yields of about 43 and 58 minutes. So just to conclude very quickly, algae are still a very much untapped source of biomass for the biorefinery, with very interesting bioactive components, fiber, and also protein sources. Both spirulina and Phaedactylum tricornotum could be used as raw materials for the biorefinery using the residues after either phycocyanin or omega-3 fatty acid extraction. The application of homogenization or ultrasound pre-treatments to these residues boosted protein recovery a couple of times, while imparting anti-inflammatory properties and interesting technological properties to the protein concentrates. And in the case of seaweeds, although we've seen that they are much more recalcitrant towards separation of the different fractions, both unexploited and readily available biomass, as well as the effluents and residues from the industrial exploitation of the phycocolloid-rich macroalgae, are an interesting source of value-added compounds and eco-materials using simple, cost-affordable methods. And with that, I just want to thank the whole team because they are the ones that are making things happen in the lab, and you, the whole audience, for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for this presentation of some of the work performed in this Circalgae project. We will keep the question for the Q&A sessions at the end of this session. We will now move to Foodimar project with Rachel Durand, who is a researcher at Sintef Ocean in Norway, and she holds a PhD in food science and will share some of her extensive insight into valorization of marine co-products and their processing. So, Rachel, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, thank Ronan for the presentation. My name is Rachel and I'm working at Sintef in Norway, and we are located in the west coast of Norway in the middle of the fjord. And my team is mostly working with marine resource processing, ingredient extraction, so protein, peptide, lipid, or like collagen we will talk about. And we are working with a lot of different resource, seaweed also, but mostly fish side stream. And today I will show you, like present you some research from the project that we have, Foodimar, which is funded by the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership. So Foodimar, it's a project where we are 6 European partners. And we are covering 3 seas, the Mediterranean, the Baltic, and the Northeast. The main goal of the project is to use fish side stream or also bycatch, like jellyfish, to extract mostly collagen, gelatin, and glycosaminoglycan, but also like valuable compounds will be evaluated through the project. The project is based on 3 main pillars. The increase of the use of side stream and bycatch, but also to improve their value and to extract high valuable compound, but also to promote new market access for these marine resources. So this is the Foodimar project. It's divided in 5 main work packages. The first work package is about the characterization of all different raw materials that we will work with, and to also map the value chain for the 3 C's that I mentioned. The second work package is more about the extraction and also the improvement of this extraction to extract valuable compounds, so collagen, gelatin, and peptide collagen. And the third work package is to identify the different functional activities, so mostly solubility, gelling, and foaming from the extract compound. And we also have a work package about the validation of the process by commercialization assessment. And of course, all the project, during all the project, we will study LCA, sustainability, and resource efficiency assessment. Foodimar is divided to cover 3 main C's, and for each C we have specific raw material that we identify for each regional pilot, how we call it. So for the North Sea, we will work with Norwegian whitefish side stream. For the Baltic Sea, we are working with jellyfish bycatch. And for the Mediterranean Sea, we are working with Turkish sea breams from aquaculture, but also some jellyfish bycatch. But for the presentation of today, I will mostly focus on the Norwegian whitefish side stream. So how Foodimar can create value through all the project. The first thing is like we will identify a valuable compound in the different raw materials that can access a really high market. We will also explore innovative methods to extract collagen, but other compounds. And we will also evaluate the use of more conventional methods that the industry can use later on. Also, what is really nice with Foodimar is that we will try, like algae, some real food products. So we will develop some prototype. So 3 prototype will develop some gummies, sheep snacks, and also some drinks to assess how the extracted compound react in this matrix. We will also evaluate the potential commercialization, but also highlight some policy recommendation to help the industry to go for this market. And of course, we will have this resource efficiency, where we will evaluate positive and negative environmental, economic, and social impact. So now if we focus on the whitefish sector in Norway, so we identified 3 main species that are fished in Norway, so the cod, haddock, and thaite. In the table, you have the production number for 2024. And for each species, we identified 2 side streams from the fisheries. It's the head and the backbones after filleting. If we do the theoretical calculation of what are the percentage of each fraction for the species, which is around 20% of the head, for example, for the cod, and 16% for the head of the haddock, and 10% for each species of backbones, this is the number that you have. So this is like the theoretical volumes that we can get from the Norwegian fisheries. To use this raw material to extract collagen, there is 2 main challenges. The first one, it's like the collagen is mostly located in the bones. And so that means we need to clean prior extraction to remove as much as possible flesh. but also the bones has a high mineral content. So that means we need to treat the raw material before extracting collagen. While the gelatin, it's like when you denature the collagen, so it's much more smaller. You don't have this triple helix, and it's often extracted with heat, and it's much more soluble than the collagen, and is often used in the food and cosmetic market. And finally, you have the hydrolyzed collagen or also collagen peptides. So the collagen peptides are obtained after denaturation with enzymatic hydrolysis, and they are really low molecular weight, lower than 5 kilodalton. And these ones are really highly soluble, and this is the ones that you use in nutraceutical supplement and also the cosmetic food market. When we want to identify a potential raw material that can be used for extraction of collagen, we often check the amino acid, and especially 3 main amino acids for the collagen, which are the glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. So here you have the hydroxyproline yield after collagen extraction, after this ultrasound pre-treatment. And you can see that actually it was observed that the collagen extraction with ultrasound increased the yield by approximately 4 times compared to the conventional method. With a really minimal amount of time. So you can see that with the ultrasound, you have much more higher yield after like 0 minutes. So right after the pre-treatment, you have an improvement of the yield, while the conventional method, after 48 hours of extraction, you just have 10% yield of hydroxyproline extraction. So to conclude, the main take-home message I will say is that the Norwegian whitefish side stream, especially the head and backbones, are a really good source and is highly available in Norway. You can produce protein-rich meats to develop really healthy seafood, increasing really, really fast. And the prognosis are like $2.3 billion in 2032. And now the main source for marine collagen is fish skin, but the access of this raw material is highly competitive, and also the price of this raw material now is going higher. So fish bones can be actually a really cheapest and also more available raw material alternative to the skin. Also, gelatin and hydrolyzed collagen have a really good price on the market, and it can be a really new revenue for the Norwegian fisheries. So I just want to thank you. You can visit the Foodimar webpage if you want to have more info about the project. And I want to thank.
And I will now give you the floor.
First of all, thanks very much for accommodating me online, and it's unfortunately I couldn't be in person, which I wanted to join in person. So without wasting any further time, and I'll be covering some of the aspects of the Impress project and the area of work what we are carrying out in this space. How we can establish zero waste multi-product biorefineries through different technologies, and briefly, if I introduce a topic and what we think of a biorefinery. This shows a typical biorefinery, what looks like, and how do we create food biorefineries or marine bioresources biorefinery. Next one, please. So a biorefinery is basically a a process where we can convert a given biomass into number of different products. Mainly it is a concept adopted from petroleum biorefinery, where we get number of products, petrol, diesel, wax, and everything. And there is a shift towards marine biorefinery or food biorefinery. The reason being is we would like to have create a zero waste processes, utilize every fraction what is coming in from a biomass. But as as a previous speaker was mentioning about alginates and bones to box and all these things collectively pushing us to get multi-product biorefinery approach. Next one, please. So the main question is, how do we establish a seafood biorefinery or any of the biomass? So this seems to be a bit busy slide. What first and foremost is we have to identify a targeted product or targeted biomass and what it contains, what is its physicochemical properties, and what we are intending to valorize it for. For instance, macroalgae, if you're looking for alginates, and then to see what are the other side stream we can get. It is highly unlikely that we get each and every product of the superior quality while producing multi-product biorefinery. And these are some of the steps which has been adopted from guidelines and which can be used for making multi-product biorefinery from any given biomass, in this case, marine biomass. And then we do know number of process. For example, ultrasonics can be used to improve extraction of alginates or a conventional method. So once we know what is the composition of raw material, that's a critical part, followed by what is the product we are intended to obtain with the desired properties depending upon its application, and the number of technologies which can be utilized for producing that particular ingredient, putting all those inventory of the material, collecting the data for unit operations, because the way we perceive any of the processing technology, it is not a process. It is basically a unit operation, what we are operating. And then to carry out the full analysis of the process, and then to develop cost benefit analysis, that's life cycle assessment or life cycle cost analysis to deliver a refinery. Next one, please. So here I'll give you the specific examples how we perceive seafood. If you'll see, there are a number of different biomasses. From marine bioresources, we have fish, crabs, seaweeds, number of different biomasses, whether it is in aquaculture processed, wild harvested, or it's through industrial processing. What it does generate range of different waste material. So now coming, if you take whether the new biomass with the microalgae, seaweed, or any of the new aquatic plant or animal species, or the side stream, how best we can valorize it economically and efficiently. So next one, please. If you look at a range of different processing technologies, some has been covered here already in by previous speakers. So the simple process is the linear process. That is how best we can make use simple technologies and make a simple process. If any given biomass, the most important or critical part for marine bioresources is stabilization of that biomass. The most commonly adopted method is drying in the case of seaweeds, or to process it where it is being produced. And this stabilization of pre-treatment could be again conventional or a new technique, or in some cases we do not need any pre-treatment, as you will see in coming slide when I go for specific examples, followed by extraction. And there is no borderline definition what is an extraction technology or what is a pre-treatment technology. For example, ultrasonics or cavitation technologies can be used as a pre-treatment followed by enzymes, or it can be used itself for extraction, and then we get a end product. So this is the way different combinations can be made for establishing a given process for biomass. Next one, please. And when we do talk about technologies and technologies adopted in the case of Impress project, is we follow the 6 principles that is associated with the clean processing technologies or green processing technologies. You would have come across number of manuscript, number of presentations represent ultrasonics or microwave or high pressure as the green technologies. But when we do talk about green processing technologies, it should fix with the 6 different principles. Number 1, The biomass what we are utilizing is renewable. Marine in this case is. Number 2 and 3 is minimize the usage of solvent or to go for greener solvent, principally water, or minimizing the usage of corrosive chemicals. Third, the process what we adopt should have reduced amount of energy usage, and the process what we developed should be economical and should be able to scale it up at the facilities what we for larger operations. And while adopting the process, reduction solvent or energy requirement, the target ingredient should be fit for the purpose for the application. And if it generates the waste or a side stream as a byproduct, and that can be valorized as an input material for other processes. For example, in most of the alginate production processes, certain chemicals are used which makes the side streams not useful. Whereas we have developed certain processes within the project, and not only as a part of Impress project, also other project, where we eliminated certain chemicals so that we can use the residues when it is produced. Next one, please. So take a specific example of seafood biorefinery. And what we know, whether a biomass is produced aquaculture or wild harvest, we do know, take fish fillet, fish cakes, number of different products are made. And next, please. And what we do know, whatever side streams are produced, whether it is fish scales, bones, using any of the conventional techniques or in new technologies, fractionation conversion or fermentation, or different approaches. We do know a lot of processes are already in the market. Certain industry are already utilizing it for fish protein, oils, hydrosalate, chitin, and different pharmaceutically active ingredient. Next one, please. However, one thing is still missing. How do we use the wastewater or the process water which is coming out of the process line? Here, I mean to say about the process water, not the wastewater coming out the cleaning of seafood industry, especially for the process water. For example, fillets are washed, or the water used for extraction of protein. So in this particular Impress project, we are utilizing that particular wastewater or process water, which technically goes for wastewater treatment, and it is expensive to create a sludge and losing a lot of vital ingredients. To use that particular organic nutrient to grow duckweed or to microalgae, we have one of our colleagues, she'll be presenting a lot related to this particular project and how we can valorize for a number of different additives. So our purpose here in this particular project is valorize the new biomass as well as existing biomass or to add value to the product. Next one, please. This is a typical example of alginate extraction process, which has been taken from the literature. And what we have been doing to green this process. Next one, please. Greening this particular process, that does not mean we just green the process. Here, what you'll see, majority of alginate extraction utilizes the dried biomass. That means you reduce from 70% to 10% moisture. How best we can use the fresh biomass or stabilizing the fresh biomass itself so that it can be used for extraction purposes. Next one, please. And once pretty much all are familiar with the alginate extraction process. However, once we do the acidic treatment, we get number of value chains, for example, laminarin, depending upon obviously from the seaweed.
Ça arrive. Les micros.
Hello, welcome back to this second part of our workshop on biorefineries of marine products. This second session will be dedicated to several small and medium-sized companies involved in these projects and in well, marine products. And we will first start with Alginor and Georg Koplin, R&D manager there. He's got a PhD in marine polysaccharides and joined Alginor in 2016, where he focuses on the development of biorefinery processes and more specifically on local kelp species. And well, I'll give you the floor.
Yes, hello. Yep. Perfect. Sorry, you have to. No, but you have to. That's perfect. Yes, I can do this. Don't touch. Don't touch. Don't touch. Don't.
Okay, you're gonna monitor it? Fine.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, as you said, my name is Georg Koplin, and today I'm going to tell you about seaweed biorefinery, the basic principles, concepts you have to consider. And if you are a startup student thinking about getting a startup running, or you are already an SME and thinking about upscaling, what are the important steps to consider reaching the seaweed biorefinery? What things have to be implemented on the way? And yeah, I will start with a short introduction on Alginor, and then I will go to a more general approach on seaweed biorefinery. So yeah, Alginor was founded in 2014, and basically through the years went through all the development steps to reach a full-scale industrial seaweed biorefinery, from the lab going piloting and yes, being now almost on the level where we have completed our first seaweed biorefinery. And yeah, I joined 2016 and basically was in the process of leading or guiding or joining all research projects we had there, or almost all, and starting with basically outlining the concept in the aorta projects 2016 and 18, making first products or first processes, validating them in the lab, going to piloting in Pukumed, Alihop, Selenor, and so on, joining the Circ algae project, which is dedicated to utilization of side streams, making first product prototypes, and then joining or starting the Proteus project, which is dedicated to the validation and full upscaling into Alginor's first biorefinery. Yes, so what is a blue biorefinery? A blue biorefinery is about an integrated or goals to have integrated facilities valorizing aquatic biomass, in that case, or our case, of course, macroalgae, and processing them into multiple products, and doing so emphasizing circular economy and zero waste, or total utilization, however you want to describe it. And why is this particularly attractive for seaweed? Main reason is that there is a high potential because of the abundance of seaweed along the European or the world coastlines. the material is vastly underexploited. It has a lot of high value components. And yeah, currently most of the traditional seaweed industry does not utilize the majority of the side streams. Some do to some extent, but yeah, there is a lot of potential for further upscaling or better exploitation of the raw material. And in addition, I might add that generally seaweeds grow or regrow about 10 times as fast as terrestrial plants. So yes, this gives a good starting position. What are key factors for seaweed biorefinery? What things do you have to think about when developing the concept? So a seaweed biorefinery should have a cascade extraction, separating the high-value components. Side stream should have a side stream utilization, and those side stream utilization of process lines need to be integrated with the main process line. And you should just move. Yes. Yes. You should also avoid using any toxic chemicals in the process that might spoil your side streams and therefore hinder their utilization. Also, there is this whole green approach about seaweed biorefinery. Yeah, you should also approach zero waste or total utilization. And when you make these all these different products and different process streams, you always have to consider that you have to balance your processing effort, purification, yield, and market value. So yeah, you basically have to consider all of those and try to optimize your profit that way. So seaweed biorefinery as a general concept, you usually start with, or you can only start with brown, red, or green seaweed. And those to really simplify the principle, you would usually start with a washing step. This would be water, hot water, acidic conditions, and so on. This depends on which product you want to produce and also which seaweed you start. But this is, I would say, pretty universal. And this, after this washing step, you usually would go to the extraction step and then get already your main product. Of course, there is drying steps and all these things I'm not mentioning now, but this is basically a shortened version of what you would do. And depending on your species, you would produce alginate, carrageenan, agar, argon. And in most cases, this is the main product. It does not necessarily have to be, but it usually would be. The first washing step produces a liquid side stream, and now we come to this seaweed biorefinery principle, and this would create a crude extract. You could also consider this as a crude extract. And this could be used, again, depending on how you produce it and so on there, as a biostimulant for the agriculture industry, biopesticide. You could also use it directly in cosmetics. It has a lot of value components. Yeah, then also, again, this crude side stream can be purified, or just parts of it can be purified to create a byproduct. So as I said, it has a lot of value components. You could purify those to purify laminarine, fucoidin, pigments, which are pigments, polyphenols, and so on. And in an ideal case, your biorefinery should be able to do both the crude extracts and the purified products. And again, then there comes the market aspect. You would try to figure out, okay, what's the processing cost of each, what's the sales value, and you try to maximize based on the demand and the price on the market, how much of your side stream do you divert towards, okay, I sell it as a crude extract or as a purified product. So market analysis is very important. Going back to the extraction step on the main before the main product. Also to mention the crude, depending on how you set up your biorefinery, the crude extract could also be your main product. And then you just do byproducts from the solid mass, but again, it usually would be one of these polysaccharides that would be the main product. Okay, you are at this extraction step, and now you produce a solid side stream. This one would, in most cases, largely consist of cellulose, silane proteins, and proteins, which you could then also sell or apply directly as it is, as feed material for animals, as fertilizer, soil conditioner in the agriculture industry, or again, you are at the question, do I sell it as it is, or do I run further extraction or purification steps with it? And then it would be the byproducts, as just mentioned, cellulose and so on, or you could also produce hydrolysates from it, which would often be a starting point for fermentation. But you would then sell it likely just as the hydrolysate, and the fermentation would be done by others. Yes, so, but what to consider about the market? It's not only the price, it's basically also when is your product able to reach the market. So are you looking for short-term markets, which in case of a seaweed biorefinery would be things like the biostimulants of the agricultural industry, feed products, and so on, where as long as your product is safe, you basically do not face many challenges regulatory-wise, and you could sell the product pretty fast. Or do you aim, or mostly aim, for the medium-term products, which might have some additional verification time, customer trials, and so on? Or do you aim for long-term products that usually would give you the highest price, something in pharma or whatever, but you definitely have to know that this takes a long time before you can sell it with clinical trials and so on. So you have to balance that too. And then again, in an ideal case, in a biorefinery, you would aim for diverting most of your products towards the short term and medium term, and only send smaller amounts of your process streams towards the long-term products that need development. So you produce smaller amounts first and increase over time. Yeah, about the global seaweed volumes that are available for processing. So that's not everything that grows, but that is harvested or through bite harvest or cultivation. So there we see a strong increase from 10 million tons in 2000 to 35 million in 2020. And of this, most is worldwide is done through cultivation, which is largely in Asia, and only 3% is wild harvested. And in Europe, the ratio is actually reversed to that. So here we harvest about 300,000 tons annually, which is just 1.1% of the global production. But here almost all is wild harvested and very little cultivated. So the most important species in Europe are Laminaria hyperborea and Laminaria digitata, and for cultivated species it's Stachyna lacissima. And the potential also in Europe is high, depending on the factory and the processing. It's roughly 50 to 70% of the biomass is discarded based on the process. So a main product is extracted, and the side streams and so on, it's not utilized, or to small extent. Digging more into the species itself. So for Hyperborea, we have around 100 million tons along the European coastline. So a lot more than is harvested. Most of it is in Norway, and about 5 million tons are permitted for annual harvest. So this is already regulated to ensure sustainable harvesting practice and to not influence the ecosystem too much. So we are probably pretty far on that regards already. And yeah, only 3% of the material that is available for harvest is yet harvested. So there is a lot of potential for growth. For Digitata, it's a bit harder to estimate the entire amounts, but yeah, 50 to 10 million tons along the European coastline, and only 60 to 100,000 tons are harvested. And this is mostly around the French coastlines, where there's also tighter regulation, and it's also in more shallow waters, which makes industrial harvest a bit more tricky. Yes. Let's see. Right, the click thing doesn't work. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, and as an example for a seaweed biorefinery, I bring up the Alginor project. It's a EU flagship biorefinery, or EU flagship project, which is called Proteus, and this is for the validation of the entire process chain, from harvesting the raw material with our own harvesting vessel called Tupomar Ocean One, towards and then processing it into a broad product portfolio utilizing all side streams. But how to reach that step, if you decide or interested or think about starting something similar, you've seen there is a lot of biomass available. What you have to consider in your development process or implementation process is the TRL and MRL level, which is technology readiness level and market readiness level. So those are basically the different stages you go through, from first lab trials towards piloting, making first samples, increasing your pilot production, and then at some point reaching industrial scale. And of course, these stages are just hypothetical or artificial stages, and there's a lot of overlap depending on your raw material and your actual product. It's overlapping, but it's actually a very good measure to where you are right now and what you should do next. So if I would have one take-home message from this presentation, or what you should do as an effort to process with your company, factory, lab trials, whatever it is, consider the TRL levels and start or join new research projects or development efforts based on your current TRL level, trying to either match it, or in an even better case, with the project, try to reach the next TRL level. So that is, I think, hugely important for fast progress. And going through the different stages and challenges. So you would TRL level is 0 is having an idea, so I don't count that. But TRL 1 level would be basically first lab trials. You have an idea, you try it out. Does it work? You make a small product. You don't care so much how pure it is, what the yield is. You just try to figure out, does it work? And on the market side, you also have to think, okay, is there anyone that needs it? So if I just burn it, does someone need ash? So it works, but nobody needs it. So next stage, then if you figured out it works, then you start to optimize the process in regarding of purity or yields. And on the market side, you should already have an idea, okay, does somebody need this product? What would he do with it? Would he incorporate it in a product, blend it with something, and so on? And then I think particular in biorefinery or seaweed biorefinery, the next stages, you can also largely think of quantities. How much do you actually produce? So TRL level 3, extended lab scale, can I make smaller amounts of it in the lab? So you would make an extended lab scale trying to produce 100 gram, 1 kilogram. That really depends on the product. If you have like a bioactive component and so on, you might be fine with 1 gram. You might be very happy. If it's like some fiber spot material, you easily can think about 1 kilo, because at this stage you would also already like to benchmark it against current products on the market, comparing what is already sold. How does my material behave against it? You're not talking with potential customer yet. But you should have products in focus already. Yes. The next stage. Sorry, I got locally here interrupted. The next stage at PRL level 4 is largely the same as the 3, just increasing the product amount slightly, and you would already try to identify product groups, markets, potentially like on the edge of identifying customer, and then you would go through the pilot sale, and there you would largely aim for, or I can quickly talk about, I think about challenges. I forgot to mention that. So in this lab to pilot scale, usually in seaweed biorefinery, your biggest challenge would be related to the raw material. So can you actually get representative raw material? You have to think about, okay, you actually just need a kilogram once a month. Is the seaweed kilogram you got now the same as you get next month? Can you collect it yourself? If you grab 2 plants from the shore, are they representative to the plants that are even just 10 meters further? Is the seaweed that you grab there with a diver similar to what you would later in a large scale biorefinery or harvest? Is that similar to what you would harvest on the sea with a boat? So getting consistent representative raw material is basically the biggest challenge, I would say, at that stage. Piloting, we would largely go through the stages there from 1 to 10 kilogram, and then you first piloting stage would be roughly that. And then you can also think about in terms of this biorefinery concept, every next stage you add a magnitude, and then you are at the next stage. So from 10 you go to 100, from 100 you go to 1,000 kilogram. And on the market side, you would try to find your first customer already, and do then trials, like you produce prototypes, or where you would say like this is a representative sample, and the customer should then first receive it to analyze it in his lab if it matches his quality and specifications, and then on the next stage you would produce enough material that the customer can actually run a real trial with it and confirm, validate this product at his place, basically making his new or his established product with your ingredient. And then we come to the industrial scale or early commercial phase. Again, depending on do you view it like from a market perspective or technical development perspective. And there you should have gone from the demonstrator phase to now you're actually having a first commercial launch, producing basically the material you're aiming to sell on a larger scale, and from there it's basically just growing the sales, growing the customer like market and so on. And challenges on this phase are basically you first come in contact with issues in logistics, distribution, and so on. And generally for the whole biorefinery, this is also something that goes through all the stages, is the financing the investment because you have large upfront costs and long development times. So it will be a lot of money that has to be invested, and it will take a long time before you get a return of investment. And potential investors really have to be aware of it. The upside is really high, but there is a long time there because you not only develop one process, you develop several processes. You need highly specialized equipment, and you need specialized equipment for multiple process lines. It's not just one main product. We talk about utilization of several process streams. So it is a much bigger investment than traditional one process industry, but the upside, the return of investment is also higher. And as a last point, synergy and opportunities in the seaweed biorefinery. There are already large existing markets, especially on the main products in the different seaweed species, alginate, and so on. And there is also a large existing market on the biostimulants, so liquid side streams and so on. And the more specialized, smaller side stream products, they are also more and more well known and have increasing global interest, as for example, fucoidin, which can be also purified from a side stream. Yes, it also, the whole biorefinery, seaweed biorefinery concept aligns with regulatory demands in the EU and worldwide that also try to replace petrol-based chemicals, plastics, and so on with more bio-based material or just safer material, healthier material, because there is concern about different additives in cosmetics, personal care items that are getting phased out slowly over time and are replaced by those. It also aligns with the Green New Deal goals from the EU, and also aligns with general economy and market trends in the EU and worldwide to target a more circular bioeconomy. And that's it. Questions at the end?
Exactly. Thank you, Garo. And remind you that you can put all your questions in the chat that we will cover at the end of the session. We will now move south and east, and we will join Emre Yemisken, which is a co-founder of Tethys Biotech in Turkey. He's an assistant professor at Istanbul University also, and he specializes in sustainable marine biotechnologies, developing bioactive compounds from aquatic resources. And
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Well, yes, we hear you fine.
Okay, great. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emre Yemisken, and I'm an assistant professor at Istanbul University and the co-founder at Tethys Biotechnology. Actually, my academic work has focused on the marine biotechnology and the sustainable extraction technologies. Through the Tethys, we have translated that research into the real-world applications, developing the green extraction methodologies to transform marine byproduct into functional ingredients. Today, I would like to share our journey and how we are working to scale marine biorefinery that created value from what was once considered waste. So, as we know that globally, 20 million tons of the byproducts are generated each year. What happens to most of it? About the 70% ends up low value feed or simply wasted. Think about that. We are losing the protein, collagen, oils, and all valuable materials. So the opportunity is clear. By upcycling, we don't just reduce the waste, we create actually the new value chain. So next, please. So we are Tethys Biotechnology, founded in Istanbul in 2018, and our mission transformed to waste into the functional value. And we use the green technologies such as the supercritical CO2, ultrasonic, and the microwave extraction methodologies. These allow us to extract the high quality compounds without heavy chemicals. Next, please. And this is not just a vision. We are a part of the Foodimar project, and where we validated these byproducts, these technology at the pilot scale. And from there, we have launched some kind of the prototype in our product line, actually. So it will show how European collaboration can turn the research into the real products. Next, please. Let's look at some numbers. And marine byproducts today are the words such as the 200, maximum the 500 per tons, but the ones upcycle into the collagen, peptides, or the oils, that value rises such as the 2,000 or maximum 10,000 per ton. So this 10-fold jump is why we believe marine waste is not a burden. It's an untapped, let's say, the business opportunities. Next, please. So our solution and our approach is a green biorefinery model instead of the one product from one raw material. So we extract in one raw material many products such as the collagens, peptides, oils, and the minerals. So all under a zero waste principle with low chemical and the low water process. It's about turning the every kilogram of waste into the multiple streams of the value. Next, please. If we are looking for the market opportunity, actually the collagen is a great example, because as we know that all global involved, also the bovine collagen market is really huge, and step by step it's going to be increasing in the year. In the meantime, the marine collagen market gonna be increased twice of the collagen market. So why the collagen is really important? Because the consumers wants to natural, effective proteins for their health, for their skin, and the sport performance. So marine collagen produced sustainably fits perfectly into this demand. And the collagen is not just it is only the one piece. If you are looking further for the product line, such as the different market as a functional food, and also it is growing really faster. And also the cosmetic market is already achieved to the 400 billion and growing fast, especially for the natural ingredients. So if the question is there any demand? The answer is clear, yes, across the multiple booming for the different industries. Next, please. And here we are. We have already developed two different products. One is the Colarich, is a liquid powder collagen from sea bass by our patented green technologies. And the other one is the snacks, CNAX. It's a kind of the freeze-dried snacks with the collagen designed for the consumers. So these prove that marine byproduct can become a real desirable products that reach the both B2B and the B2C markets. Next, please. When we are looking for the scale up the industries, the systems, we need a flexibility. That's why we tested several models, such as the enzymatics, SFE, supercritical methodologies, ultrasonic, and the cascade with the hybrid line. And each model has strength, and together they form a toolbox for designing the modular and the digital biorefineries adaptable to many raw materials. Next, please. And here you can see our journey is step by step. We started with a lab scale, and we just jumped to also the pilot one. We tried to make a demo scale liter as a 1,000 liter per day for now, and we would like to move further for the industrial scale up to the 10 tons per day. So at each stage we faced, of course, the different type of the challenges, and each challenges classifies in different perspective, such as for example, the capex and the equipment. We need to always convincing the investors that these technologies payback takes the persistence, and the raw material logistic. If you are looking for collecting consistent fish byproduct, is not really trivial, and skins and the bones arrive in different qualities sometimes depending on the season, and sometimes supplier, even because of the storage. At the one point, for example, we had the whole batch unuseful because it wasn't frozen properly. And on the other side, the regulatory complexity is a little bit tough in our case, because moving for the food grade pilot trials to cosmetic and the nutraceutical claims requires multiple certifications. So in each step slows time to going further for the market. And the last one is the consumer acceptance, especially for the turkey. If you are saying this is from the fish waste, it's not really, the mean is not really qualify product in the brand. So we need the storytelling and the branding and the proof of safety to change that perception. So the lesson is clear in this case. Scaling the technology is not just the technical issues and the technical challenge, it's also the financial, logistical, and regulatory with a cultural expectation. But in each obstacle, we have overcome step by step, and we start to be stronger and more prepared for the industrial scales. Next, please. So we should really read well about the market needs. In that reason, we are always looking for the market problem and the customer and the consumer problem as well. In this reason, we B2B companies, especially for the food and the cosmetic industries, they are really looking for the natural ingredients and low chemical uses, low process or the less processed ingredients for their product. In the meantime, for the end users, especially for the food products, athletes and the professional, this is really helpful to say something more about the green technology, sustainability. This is really, let's say, the focusing area in the demand of the end users. In the meantime, we can gathering these two options in our products in this stage, and our priorities is really, first of all, moving further for the functional food, and secondly, we are looking for using our raw material in the cosmetic and the nutraceutical markets. This is where demand and the growth will align with our technology. Next, please. So, is the marine waste a problem, or is the raw material of the future? At Tethys Biotechnology, our answer is clear. It's a kind of the raw material for the future. And with the green technology, we can turn into the discarded biomass into the collagens, oils, collagen peptides, antioxidants. So nothing's wasted and everything's value. And that is our mission. And we invite you to follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram and try to be a kind of the part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emre. Now I'm going to continue with Maria Alvarez-Gil, the head of technology department at NeoAlgae. She has experience at the intersection of many different sectors in energy, environmental aspects, and biotechnology sectors. And she focuses on innovative solutions in microalgae biotechnology, and she will now present us neoalgae developments and projects around this microalgae biotechnology applications.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, hello to everybody and good afternoon. And today I'm going to talk about microalgae biotechnology as a tool for blue biorefineries. Next, please. So, I'm going to share with you an overview of what is neoalgae, the main concepts about blue circular bioeconomy, an introduction of microalgae and the main concept of what is a microalgae biorefinery and how it contributes to the biorefining scheme or circular economy, and some examples of success stories. So next, please. Okay, so neoalgae is a biotech company founded in 2012 and located in Gijón, in Asturias, in the north of Spain. We are focused on ingredients, microalgae biomass, and innovation in the areas of cosmetic, dietary supplements, food, feed, agriculture, or R&D, mainly in the B2B business. Next, please. So in this slide, I want to show you the whole process we are carrying out as a microalgae company. Our mission is contributing to nutrition and health and care for the environment through the development of different products, always based on microalgae, through the blue and circular economy. In this slide, you can see the value chain we are addressing with the following step. First, we start with the microalgae strain. Then we need to scale up the cultures and start the cultivation at industrial volumes. Then we need to recover the biomass by the downstream processes. We process that biomass and we produce the different ingredients we are marketing for the different areas I told before. You can see an example of some microalgae we are growing now and some of our reactors. We always are focused in the sustainable and healthy solutions. Next, please. So, what is the blue economy? It's the sustainable use of ocean resources. The blue biotechnology is one of the emerging and innovative sectors that are included in the blue economy. One of the most dynamic subsectors in the field of the blue biotechnology then is the algae sector. The European Algae Initiative and other European policies positions recognize that marine bioresources can and should be very important contributors to that. There is a high potential for algae to bring benefits to Europe. Here you can see some tips about the blue circular bioeconomy that is extracted from the European report from 2023. Next, please. So then I wanted to give you a brief introduction about what is microalgae. They are single cells, microorganisms that are carrying out photosynthesis, and they are the basis of food chain. That is very important because, for example, they are the origin of the omega-3, and they have a large number of species, and because of that, they are used successful in different industrial fields. They can grow in all environmentals with water. And now you have there in the slide some main benefits of the microalgae. They are sustainable agriculture because does not require agricultural land and they do not compete with food crops. They grow in all types of water. That is important because they do not require drinking water, and then you can use processed wastewater to grow the microalgae, and it's one of the keys for the biorefineries and the blue economy concept. They have high productivity and are a big source of nutrients, fatty acids, amino acids, proteins, antioxidants, etc. And of course, they capture CO2, and it is also very, very important. Next, please. So now I wanted to give you some interesting data that is useful for the concept of circular economy. You have there the fixation CO2 rate. They have a growth potential that can be up to 100 times faster than plants. They are 20 times greater photosynthesis efficiency than plants, and can be achieved productivities of 100 tons per hectare and year, talking about dry matter. Nutritional requirements are also very important, talking about the flue gases and wastewater treatment. As you can see here, each microalgae has different main uses, and each species has different controlling factors. Each species or the growth is different and can produce different bioactive compounds. As well, they can be used in different applications: pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, animal feed, biofuels, agriculture application, chemical, etc. You have there some main microalgae species that we are cultivating or growing at NeoAlgae, and which is the main objective or active compounds for that species. For example, Fadactylum tricornutum for fucaxanthin extraction and omega-3 for nutraceutical uses or cosmetic application, Isocris galvana for extraction omega-3 fatty acids, Tetraselmis for the use of biomass for food, Spirulina biomass for food, biostimulants, protein extraction, etc. Chlorella vulgaris for also biomass, food and cosmetic application, and Hematococcus pluvialis for the axanthin extraction for nutraceutical uses or cosmetic applications. So you can play with the different species to have different objectives, and also to have to recover or to treat different wastewater or other side streams. Next, please. Microalgae biorefinery. So microalgae are light-driving cell factories that synthesize bioactive compounds from primary metabolites, such as lipids, proteins, or carbohydrates, and secondary metabolites, pigments, carotenoids, vitamins, or sterols. So there you have the main tips for what is a microalgae biorefinery. They have efficient processes for producing different ingredients, the sustainable use of natural resource for a variety of commercial commodities. The waste constitute a crucial element of the biorefineries and allows for exploitation of microalgae to the full potential and minimize biomass waste accumulation. Next, please. Okay, what is the microalgae or how the microalgae can contribute to the biorefinery scheme or circular economy scheme? Microalgae can use effluents for different industries, liquid or gas effluent. Using the microalgae in bioreactors, the industries can achieve resource recovery, reduce wastes and environment footprint, and also the effluents or waste from the microalgae can be also reused. For example, when you send in the harvest step, the centrifugation step, you have wastewater stream that can be used, and the biomass wasted resulted from the extraction process can be also be used in the production of other products such as biofertilizer. So, how microalgae fit into a circular economy? There are 3 key points. The microalgae consume nutrients and pollutants, so they contribute to wastewater treatment and resource recovery. Microalgae can fix and capture CO2, so it's also a contribution for the carbon capture. And microalgae biomass generated from wastewater treatment can be used as feedstock in biorefineries to produce different range of products. Next, please. So there are many studies. You have here a table, like a summary, when you can see the different microalgae, the source of wastewater, and the different process and bioproducts, just to show that there are a lot of studies, a lot of work about this topic. And this study reveals that microalgae can completely remove nitrogen, phosphorus, and other components from different types of wastewater. The cultivation strategy can reduce the manufacturing cost because you can combine different wastewater treatment with the cultivation of the microalgae. And this avoid the economic cost of the artificial culture medium, the nutrients that the microalgae needs to grow. The main wastewater uses are industry effluents, piggery wastewater, municipal wastewater, agriculture effluents, hydroponic crops, and others like that. Next, please. And now I'm going to show some success stories or some projects that have demonstrated that the use of microalgae in the circular economy. For example, the PESNO project is a Green Deal project funded by the European Union. And in this project, we developed a process to use tomato hydroponic wastewater cultivation to grow microalgae and produce biostimulants. So we use this effluent in the microalgae cultures, and then we obtain the biomass, and we can use a biostimulant that can be used in the same tomato hydroponic cultivation, and then you can close the loop and reduce the wastewater. Next, please. Another example, this is a project that we carry out internally in neoalgae, and in which we used raw liquid slurry of bovine origin for the microalgae cultivation, and this project was focused more like a depuration project to reduce the slurry on the wastewater of this origin, bovine origin, cow origin, and growing microalgae with that. And it can be demonstrated that is like a good nutrient for the growth of the microalgae. Next, please. This is a similar project. In this case, it was a Eurostar project, and we use zootechnical waste rich in nutrient and phosphorus, etc., and also with the supply of CO2 to grow microalgae. And then with the biomass we obtain, we could produce fish food in pellets. and test with fish, different species of fish. Well, we could achieve this product. Next, please. This other project was a live project that we carried out in Nemalgi, and the objective was to produce to grow microalgae with waste treatment and CO2 capture for industry, and with the biomass obtained, produce biostimulant. Using also other subproducts that we could reuse, such as alpecin from the olive industry waste and biomass waste after phycocyanin extraction from spirulina. That was the example I was explaining before. And we could reduce the water consumption of the whole process, the nutrient intake, and we could have average of 1.55 kilos of CO2 capture per meter cubic. Next, please. Of course, I have to talk about the Impress project. I won't talk so much because it was present previously in this workshop. But it's a clear example of how you can use aquatic effluents to produce microalgae. In our case, also other species like duckweed production, with the objective of obtain different compounds focus on different industries, such as, or mainly in this project, food, packaging, and biostimulants. So it's a very whole a project because it has not also the technical approach, if not also we are having the social innovation and taking into account the consumer preference, and it's very good for the reutilization of underutilized species. Next, please. Okay, so in summary, microalgae can contribute to circular economy. Why? Because we can use different pollutants or different wastewater side streams, both gas or wastewater for the microalgae cultivation. Because we have different species with different characteristics, they can take and they can depurate, or can the intake is different. You can select or choose the right species of microalgae, so you can grow it, and then you have different bioproducts. In the whole process of cultivation, you also can reuse different side streams, and you can have the whole circular bioeconomy process. Next, please. And that's all. Thanks for your time, and see you.
Thank you, Maria. We will now be moving to our last speaker for this session, and the local one, Oran Ayalan from Algalif. Oran has an extensive experience in the biotech research and development, and also marketing, with a specific focus on microalgae and health products produced from them. And well, I'll let you the floor.
Yeah, thank you. How do I work? Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to the workshop. My name is Oran, and I have been working in the microalgae industry for the last 20 years. Today I'm going to talk about fucoxanthin, which has been a personal passion of mine. 2 years ago, I relocated to Iceland because I believe that algae leaf is uniquely positioned to bring microalgae fucoxanthin into the market. So a brief overview of algae leaf. It is a privately owned biotechnological company founded 2012 and based in Iceland. After the last expansion, I believe it is the largest producer of natural astaxanthin in the world and the largest grower of Haematococcus pluvialis. The facility features an array of photobioreactors, all with varying sizes and configurations. All the systems are controlled with control platform, which are partly AI-driven, and the company employs about 80 highly trained professionals from different backgrounds. So what is fucoxanthin and why is it so promising? So fucoxanthin is the most abundant carotenoid in nature. It accounts for about 10% of the total carotenoids mass. And it is a golden brown pigment, which is primarily found in marine environment. It is produced by brown seaweeds and microalgae, particularly diatoms and golden brown species. Chemically, it is xanthophyll, which have oxygenated functional groups, particularly an epoxide and an alanic bond. Its hydrocarbon chain is highly unsaturated and makes and forms several isomers. The major isomer is the trans form. And what you can see here is an example of HPLC chromatograms with the top one is a purified analytical standard, and the bottom one is a microalgal extract containing also some chlorophylls and other carotenoids. Commercially, fucoxanthin is extracted, its source is sourced currently from seaweeds, which are traditional foods in Japan, Korea, and China. For example, common species are Mundaria pinafida, the wakame, or Laminaria japonica, the kombu, or sargassum, which is called hijiki. However, microalgae, specifically diatoms like Pheodactylum there on the left, or Odontella there on the right, or golden brown species. For example, the Isochrysis in the middle, in the bottom middle, they present a better alternative. And why are there a better alternative? It is because microalgae has higher, at least 10 times higher content of fucoxanthin. They have a simpler life cycle. They reproduce vegetatively and without tissue differentiation, so they grow faster. Microalgae can be grown in controlled conditions and thus reducing the risk of contaminations like arsenic, mercury, or iodine. Microalgae are grown continuously, and whereas seaweeds are seasonal, and these factors is what makes microalgae as a source of fucoxanthin more economically viable. The most popular microalgae species for fucoxanthin are currently Pheodactylum and Isochrysis. If we compare these two species, we see that Isochrysis is maybe a much better source than Pheodactylum. It contains higher content of fucoxanthin. It lacks a rigid cell wall, which enable simpler processing. It has a slightly better lipid profile than Pheodactylum. I'm talking about Isochrysis. It has particularly high content of omega-3 DHA. It is compatible and works well with supercritical CO2, supercritical fluid CO2 as a solvent for extraction, unlike Pheodactylum. And Isochrysis has a better and milder smell and taste. So it makes it better as a source for fucoxanthin. Now, to enhance the production of fucoxanthin in microalgae, we must understand the functions it has in the algae and the biosynthetic pathway. So fucoxanthin is a key component of the light harvesting complex in algae. It absorbs light at wavelength, short wavelength, those wavelengths that penetrate better the seawater. It forms complexes with chlorophyll A, C, and apoproteins. And I'm not going to, without going into details about the biosynthesis, the fucoxanthin is derived from beta-carotene from beta-carotene through violaxanthin, through xanthophyll cycle 1, and from violaxanthin either through diatoxanthin, through xanthophyll cycle 2, or through neoxanthin, and while the enzymes that are involved in these conversions are still under investigations. But a deep understanding of these conversions would enable strain optimization for higher fucoxanthin yields. So orally administered fucoxanthin is metabolized, is hydrolyzed into fucoxanthinol within 2 hours. And after its absorption in the small intestine, it is metabolized in the liver into aminocytocyanin A, while fucoxanthinol is the form that resides in most tissues and plasma, and it also accumulates in fat tissue, while aminocytocyanin A accumulates in the liver. This distinct or divided tissue distribution is in line with fucoxanthin functions in the body. A pharmacokinetics study revealed that the bioavailability of fucoxanthin is better than other carotenoids. The oral bioavailability is better than other carotenoids, such as astaxanthin. And just to add that the bioavailability in humans is much better than in rodents, as in general in studies, the doses that are used in humans are only 15% of the dosage that is used in rodent, while the Cmax and the area under curve, the total area under curve, are 33 and 46% higher in humans correspondingly. One of the distinct health benefits of fucoxanthin stems from its impact on fat metabolism. Fucoxanthin can downregulate key receptors and inhibits the uptake of cholesterol and triglycerides in the liver, and it also reduces the uptake of glucose by adipocytes by downregulating the IRS1 receptor, and it also affects lipid synthesis, inhibits lipid synthesis by downregulating genes involved, such as fatty acid synthase and acetyl-CoA carboxylase. This makes fucoxanthin a potential agent in the prevention and against metabolic syndrome, which is one of the most important health challenges that affects billions of people. This is probably the mechanism by which fucoxanthin can break down fat, which is the holy grail of any weight management strategy. In the mitochondria of adipocytes, it can upregulate uncoupling protein 1 and also the beta-3 adrenergic receptor, inducing thermogenesis, and which results in fat oxidation and lipolysis. And the result is weight loss and energy expenditure. In other words, fucoxanthin can convert white adipose tissue into brown and break it down, which is a major benefit in for weight loss. Beyond its effect in fat metabolism, fucoxanthin is a potent antioxidant. It can prevent and protect against oxidative stress, against physical trauma, against environmental toxins. It was demonstrated to have neuroprotection traits, and combined with its anti-inflammatory activity, it can help prevent and alleviate chronic neurological symptoms such as Alzheimer's or even Parkinson. In the skin, it has a protective effect, and it promotes anti-aging. So this is why it is part of many cosmetic products. In vivo and in vitro studies found it to be to have an anti-cancer activity, particularly inducing apoptosis in tumor cells. And finally, there are reports that implicate fucoxanthin in longevity, in male fertility, and mental wellness. Okay. Commercially, fucoxanthin exists in the market, but the majority of it is sourced, over 99% is sourced from seaweeds currently. Market estimates vary widely from $120 million per year up to $2.1 billion a year. And the current price of 1 kilogram of fucoxanthin is about $60,000 on a pure base, meaning that an extract containing 1% can cost $600. I'll skip this slide. Just an overview of the general process of fucoxanthin production. The production process is a multi-stage complex process integrating biology, engineering, and chemistry. Every stage has its own challenges and requires its own R&D. If we go over key stages in the production process, First, we start with, we have to choose the right species and strain to best fit the cultivation technology. Once this strain is chosen, we prepare an inoculum in a clean and controlled environment. This inoculum is upscaled to industrial volumes where the algae are grown in photobioreactors that are controlled, and we can specify the exact, for example, light intensity or photoperiod or other factors. All of the factors influence, of course, the algal growth and fucoxanthin synthesis. Once the algae reaches the optimal density and fucoxanthin content, we move on to harvesting, then drying, then extraction. All of these processes designed to concentrate the active fucoxanthin without damaging its bioactivity. And the final stage is formulating the fucoxanthin extract into products that are tailored to specific uses, such as dietary ingredients, which can be capsules or powders or functional foods, which can be or beverages or so. To summarize, fucoxanthin is not just a simple carotenoid. It has distinct effects on fat metabolism, which makes it important for metabolic syndrome. Its physiological role and biosynthesis enables agro-technical manipulations to enhance fucoxanthin productions. Its bioavailability is better than other carotenoids, and microalgae offer a cleaner and more efficient and sustainable source for commercial fucoxanthin. Moreover, compared to seaweeds, and the global market is still in its beginning, and it is largely untapped, and there is a serious supply problem in the market. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Oran. And we have time for some questions yet. Maybe I'll start with the first one again. We've seen in the presentation that funding is a key aspect when you want to develop biorefineries. But when it comes to biorefineries and circularity aspects and sustainability, do you see it as an advantage when you talk to investors, or is it part of the criteria that they are looking for today, or is it just kind of one market among others? Yeah, well, to everybody, but you can certainly answer it now. Wait for the mic, please.
Yeah. So from our perspective, I think there are some investors that might have that in mind as like an ideological goal or perspective, but I think for investors, it's more of a point that this circular economy aspect gives them some more regulatory security. Like they know that okay, this will be in line with all regulations and demands and so on. So it's yes, it is, but probably not for the exact reason you might hope for. But yes, it is an advantage.
Okay. Emre, do you want to also react on that one?
Yes. Actually, when we talk with a different type of the investors about our technology and mentioning on the sustainability, circular economy, they don't care. Definitely. They're just caring about what's demand of the market. If the marketing strategy gonna be really fit with the customers and getting more money with the different type of the work. If is the system, the technology gonna be advantage about volume of the raw material or the volume of the products, or if you can decrease the price of the same material, the same raw material in the market, it's perfectly fit for them. But sincerely, I mean, they don't understand even, it's a little bit pity.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Maybe one question for Maria. So you talked us a lot about the use of wastewaters as a way to for the production of microalgae. We know that it can raise a number of technical challenges or regulatory challenges. Where do you see the highest value in doing this? Is it a way? Is the main interest to reduce the cost of the cultivation media, or is the value coming from the cleaning of the wastewaters? And how do you see it evolving, maybe with regulations and higher pressure on factories?
I think regulation is a main factor that is not clear enough. Of course, we try to use wastewater not coming from so heavy industry with so worst contaminant in order to produce determined types of products such as food or cosmetic, if not, for example, for biostimulant. And if other type of wastewater coming from cultures, natural cultures or vegetal cultures or food industry, it's easier to use in cultivation that the final use is going to be food or cosmetic, for example. And I think the main value is reducing the cost of the not only the water, if not the nutrient you can have in your culture, because this wastewater supply nutrients for the microalgae. And also the interest of these industries in the reduce this waste is also a opportunity, like for consultants or that type of project business.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions in the room? No. So maybe one more for you, Oran. So fucoxanthin development is something, well, quite new for algae, for at least in early stages. So you're maybe not yet looking at valorization of co-products, but is it something that you start thinking about? And can you maybe also tell us a bit more about what you're doing with your co-products from the astaxanthin processing?
As you said, it is a very early stage for us to be thinking what to do with the pulp remaining after extraction of the fucoxanthin. The product that we extract is the product that we sell actually is going to be oleoresin, meaning it is all the fat fraction of the algae, which means that the proteins and the carbohydrates and the silica, in case of the Pterodactylum, is what's remaining. Now, according to my experience in the industry with, for example, astaxanthin or other high-value products from microalgae, it's the remains are not enough in volume to be thinking about doing something with them. I used to work at Alga Technologies, which produces astaxanthin, and we used to extract with supercritical fluid extraction, and the remaining pulp was not even sold. It was given away as feed to farms around the production site. So
still room there to develop additional value, but always the challenge of balancing the quantities compared to the markets you're targeting.
Yes, I think that a more maybe appropriate biorefinery approach to the production of fucoxanthin would be to first to find a way to extract and to concentrate fucoxanthin directly from wet paste, and to purify components in the fat fraction of the algae into omega-3 DHA, more purified omega-3 DHA, and fucoxanthin, and maybe other fatty acids. And I know that, for example, the algae that we are working in has several active sulfated polysaccharides that could be very interesting and very bioactive in themselves, but so there is a lot of room to develop.
Okay, thank you. Do you have one last question, maybe? Yeah, Rakesh?
I was going to ask this during the tour, but I just want to ask the location plus the production of a single molecule. Is there also idea of expanding the capacity to make other microalgae based on photobioreactors, and also different designs and concepts as well? Or are you sticking to the tubular system?
So far, the the prominent cultivation technology is the array of tubular photobioreactors. I personally hope, and I think that we hope, that the microalgae that we are cultivating for fucosantine would fit the technology. I mean, would grow good in using this technology. We are not. I know that other companies in the world that are producing fucosantine from microalgae use different technologies, like cylinders with airlift systems and other technologies, and they are successful, but the algae grow. But for algae leaf, I'm sure we are going to stick with the tubular PBRs.
Well, thank you all. I think we're going to close this workshop unless we have one last question online. Also, just a few information. We will send you a short survey later this week to get your feedback on the event and interests for the next one. And we will also check with the different speakers if they can share their presentations and the replay of this session, and we will keep you informed. So I would like to have once again a big thank you to all speakers today, and we hope you enjoyed this workshop as much as we did. Thank you. And well, see you during spring 2026 for the next workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye bye. Ciao.